What one Sabbath rest looked like on me. September 24, 2005, journal entry by Rebekah. Again, this was written before our Hebrew walk, and therefore I am changing the names. Isaac's name used to be Chris, so I'm going to be using his new name Isaac, and the names of Elohim are not God and Jesus anymore. I use the terms YHVH Elohim, referring to God the Father, and Yeshua, Homoshiach, or just Yeshua, referring to Jesus, as well as the Ruach HaKodesh, referring to the Holy Spirit, and I will refer to her as a she. The warm sand fell through my hands and was a soft, warm bed for my tired body. My bare legs and arms enjoyed the much-needed exposure to the intense September sun, and I was becoming warm to the core. With my eyes closed, I could feel the freckles reappearing on my nose as I turned my face towards beauty. Like lullaby music was the sound of the gentle waves coming ashore one right after the other. Mixed in with the sound of the water were the songs of birds sitting in the flowering cherry trees that lined the path down the beach. The breeze blew warm and soft. Lazy, thin, white clouds passed overhead, though never getting between me and the sun. Far down the beach, there was one soul in sight, but no one else. It was just me and the moment. With my sweatshirt under my head, I closed my eyes, the warmth mixed with my exhaustion. I startled awake to the sound of seagulls screeching to the right of me and then to the left of me. I opened my eyes. About 20 birds were flying back and forth over me, fighting over a large piece of bread they kept dropping. None of them could swallow it very easily because it was way too big. The one who caught it needed time to eat it, but none of them would let that happen. Hard to believe that at this very moment people with hopes and dreams just like me are in Exodus, fleeing from the fury of Hurricane Rita, now inland on the Gulf Coast. They are either trapped in the hurricane or they are watching Rita destroy their homes via the news, and I'm laying here on the beach. I am not special. I just happen to not live in the path of hurricanes. Instead, I live where the winter can get deadly fierce, where the northwest mountain range could blow at any moment, where fires can break out and destroy millions of acres of wilderness and lives in the process. And no matter who you are, pick a place to call home on this planet, and it could cave in and swallow you up. There is no safe place to live on this planet. The only safe place for my heart is with my Elohim, YHVH Elohim. Today it's laying on the beach, taking a nap in the warm sunshine of a September day. Oh, I forgot. I came out here to spend time with you, didn't I, Yeshua? I said in my mind. I heard back right away. You are, he whispered to me. Oh, and it's just lovely with you here today. I laid back down, closed my weary eyes to sleep again. And I took another nap on the beach. For another moment I fell asleep, knowing that Yeshua was there with me on the sand. I'm just being me, and he was just being him. But my day had started much earlier than this moment. Earlier this morning, I rose up at 4:30 a.m. The Ruach HaKodesh wanted me to write, so I got up and wrote out a story about Maggie and Yeshua in the wee hours of my Sabbath morning while the family slept. I wanted to sleep in, but the Ruach HaKodesh called. My Sabbath rest doesn't always include sleeping in. The family stirred, and as I continued to type, Isaac made breakfast downstairs. Isaac looked anxious, and stress was written all over his face. We hadn't protected the Sabbath last night when it came. I don't remember what happened, but maybe that was the problem. Gollum doesn't care if it is a Sabbath or not. He just jumps on Isaac and hangs on tight as soon as Isaac gets up. if we don't fight it off. And one of the hardest parts of fighting in this war is admitting evil has latched onto us and then getting on our knees to give Yehovah permission and beg him to get Golem off of us. Nevertheless, we had a late and lazy breakfast. And after we were done, amidst the dirty house, I pulled out our new book, God of the Possible by Gregory Boyd, and sat on the stairs and began to read it to Isaac as he worked on the dishes. After some good conversation and the dishes done, Isaac laid on the couch and read. I decided to go on a bike ride. I wanted to see my friend Yeshua, so that's when I ended up on the beach. Some kids began to play on the beach near me. Their laughter woke me up. I looked around. There was more beach activity, and then the sun shone brighter from a new angle. Maggie descended on the concrete stairs behind me, curiously looking at me, wondering if it was truly her mom she was looking at. Recognizing me, she ran down to join me in the sand, and Hadassah followed. Isaac looked better. Handsome, with his streaked blonde hair gently blowing in the breeze and his button-up shirt open. He had strolled the girls down in the stroller and brought lunch for us to eat on the beach together. The girls, lunch in hand, ran and played in front of us on the lake's shore. It was a nice moment, a beautiful moment, a peaceful moment, a Sabbath moment. Walking back home together, stroller loaded down, the sun beat warm on us until we reached our street that was lined with big maple trees. Then it got cooler. Off Maggie and I hurried to get dressed to go to a wedding reception. Cleaning up very pretty, the two of us drove away from the house with our presents, leaving Isaac to whatever the Spirit took him to do, and Hadassah was probably going to go to sleep. For a few hours, Maggie and I fellowshipped with other human beings. These people were here to celebrate a wedding, and we joined in. Amanda looked beautiful in her white wedding gown. Brian looked in love. The white lights were enchanting, the cameras were flashing, the kids were laughing, and the conversation was engaging. But my favorite part of the day was about to come. Isaac and I had been looking forward to a date for months. We had just enough money stashed away in our salsa jar to go out to a nice dinner together, but we had had troubles for weeks trying to find someone to babysit for us. Finding people to just love our girls doesn't seem to come very easily for us. I have absolutely no idea why, because we are such an adorable family, I should think. Except that it seems as though we are under attack in this area. But today we got our moment. Oh, it was so nice. Hopping into our open Land Cruiser, we headed down to the river. Walking hand in hand, we strolled the new trail and talked as the evening sun approached. Through the tall grass, we reached the river. Sitting next to a tree on the steep bank, I could look at Isaac sitting on a rock by the river, and he was facing me. What a wonderful moment, a quiet moment, a Sabbath moment. With my hands in his hair and him standing on the beach, leaning on my lap, he entered Yeshua's presence and prayed. It was good. We ended up in a cozy Mediterranean restaurant with good food all around us and a glass of good wine and cider at our fingertips. The week's burdens began to fall off of our shoulders, and we began to laugh and enjoy one another's company. It was a restful few hours, a moment to remember what we were created for. As we dined, we dreamt of the day this would be the new Yerushalayim, and Yeshua would enter the places of celebration with his fellow humans and join in the celebration of paradise restored. If we were spending Sabbath like we used to do, none of this would have been able to happen today. It would have been too encumbered by the needs and demands of the church organization in some form or another, and the rest that Yehovah wanted to give us wouldn't have been able to happen on such a grand scale. These moments with Yeshua, this moment in contact with beauty, is so important to have. It is critical that we get a taste of what we were made for so that we can go back to fighting and struggling with life this side of Eden for the remainder of our week. I need that taste desperately. I need it often. I get small morsels of beauty during the week, through the laughter of my girls, through the puppiness of our big dogs, through a good hair day, or through an intimate moment with my husband. But Sabbath is the day that Yehovah invites me to partake in a bigger way. Sabbath is the day He has planned to meet me on the beach. He has looked forward to it all week long. He has set aside the time to be with me every seventh day in a special way, because I was made to be a lover, and He can't wait to be in my arms for that day, all day. Shabbat is the day I have the permission of heaven to sit on the porch swing and just be with the family in heaven. I don't need the permission of the church. And sometimes I'm alone with Him. Other times friends are around, or family, or other like hearts join us. I still have to fight to cover Sabbath and protect it. For Hasatan would love nothing more than to take my Sabbath from me. But once covered, once I've prayed over it, I let go, and I let the Ruach HaKodesh take me to the rest that my body needs, and that my heart needs, and that my head needs. Sometimes I don't even know what that is, or where that is, but she does. The Ruach HaKodesh does. I love my Sabbaths. I love Shabbat. I need my Sabbaths. Isaac and I are on a journey of learning what Sabbath was created for and what they mean for us. Each Sabbath is a unique one, all on its own. Part of our journey meant that we had to admit that the answers we had were wrong, that the answers we had grown up with were somewhat twisted, that a lot of them were lies. That in and of itself is a huge step, one that the dark side doesn't want you to see. We used to wake up and begin the rush to get ready for church on Sabbath. I'll never forget it. We had to make it there on time because I was involved in the children's departments, and even if I wasn't, there was the pressure to get the girls to Sabbath school at 9 o'clock in the morning, for that is where they learn about God, right? No, wrong. Then there was the joy of trying to keep your kids somewhat respectful of the church service. Why? Really? No, why? Why do this? Not to mention the frustration encountered with the rarely Ruach-filled sermons. And there's the posing of friends who you are only friends with for that church hour. Many church people seemed more worried about whether you were showing up for church than if you were actually walking with Yehovah. As if showing up at church was a reflection of your relationship with God. The contrary is true. The countless fake "how are yous" passed around in the foyer made my stomach sick. Answering them honestly would invite comments like, "Oh, that's not good. That's not the way things should be. I hope things get better." And then a change of subject or someone else to talk to. Then, after church, there were more options to keep you occupied on Sabbath. There were potlucks, afternoon programs, visitors after church, more teachings, naps, or some kind of socializing in the afternoon, waiting for the sun to set so that you could turn the TV on again, legally. And then there was always the pain of the disappointment that came with not getting invited to someone's home after church or fellowship. The loneliness could set in after church, for sure. Sabbaths sometimes made me feel very lonely. But Sabbaths were predictable. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. Therefore, I grew up with our Sabbaths being controlled by the idea that there was some divine importance of fellowshipping as a collective whole in a 1-hour worship service in a hot and stuffy building. Where did that come from? Where did that tradition come from? Is that what Sabbath was for? Sabbaths were exhausting. For the last 2 years, we have not been spending our very small and very valuable time on Sabbath entering into surface relationships that are encouraged by the church institution. We do not leave church exhausted and rush home to get the girls fed and napped. We do not go tiredly from church to potluck and then home with grouchy kids. Now each of our Sabbaths are unique and are much more restful, much more unpredictable and dangerous. That day is much more about entering relationship with Yehovah Elohim than about what the church says it should look like. Isaac and I are on a journey of letting go of the customs of the church the demands of society, and our family's expectations. I no longer listen to the church's definition of what rest should look like on me. I am no longer bound to the church and its weekly mark it likes to write on my Sabbath. Instead, I am learning to allow Yehovah to lead me into rest. The rest I must have on each unique Sabbath. It's not so neat and tidy as it used to be. It's not so easy. It's not so social. It's different. Some Sabbaths are a complete flop. Others rock. It is much more wild. I desire Yeshua to take me into his tanned and strong working arms and ride me off into the sunset. I want to feel the wind in my hair, my arms around his waist, and the strength of the horse under us. I want to see all the colors of the sunset melt into one. It is my freedom to give him my hand and let him hoist me up onto that horse with him, and then hold on for the wild ride into beauty. It's a Sabbath ride that I don't want to miss. My prayer for you, listener, is that your heart will come into contact with the truth, and that you will see that the answers you thought were right might actually be wrong. May you engage on a journey with Yeshua into all truth, and let Yehovah Elohim, through his Ruach HaKodesh, take you on a wild ride, maybe to your own nap on the beach, or a ride into the sunset on a glorious, restful Shabbat day.